Welcome back. I'm Blaine Sundard with AWS Training and Certification and AWS DeepRacer. In our last video, we unboxed our AWS DeepRacer and got our batteries charging and ready for assembly. So let's go ahead and get to assembly phase. First part in assembly is installing the car battery. Once we unplug it from the charging station, we take the red adapter and that plugs into the red input. And that double beep means we've got a charge. So to install the battery, we go ahead and put it in label side up. And then there is a Velcro hook here on the back end of the car. Just secure that in there so the battery stays put. So now we need to turn the power on the drivetrain. Now the power switch is located right underneath this blue and yellow cable. To the right is off and to the left is on. And when you turn it on, if power is good, you should hear that double chirp. Cool. At this point, the drivetrain is finished. So let's go ahead and put the compute layer back on top and pin that together. Now the pins go specifically so that the circle side of the pin is in the middle. This will prevent any accidental connection with the tires. So now, with the compute layer secured, the next step is to connect the compute layer to physical power. Now, you could connect the battery direct, but we're about to configure the Wi-Fi. And as a best practice, we want to make sure we start with ground electricity so that there's no problems that might come up. We know we've got a solid connection. So in your kit, you should have the USB to power connector, and that will go right into the power port. So now that we have the compute layer plugged into the wall, we now turn on the power for the compute with the vehicle compute power button. Hit that, and the LED over on the right starts out as red, blinks green, and in about a minute, will turn blue once the compute layer has launched itself. So we'll wait for a minute until that happens. All right, we can see now that the power light has turned blue. Compute layer has now properly booted. Time to connect it to my laptop here so we can configure the Wi-Fi. To do that on your laptop, first thing you need to do is disconnect your laptop from the Wi-Fi. If you do, then it's going to try to get mixed signals. So once your laptop is disconnected, we take the micro USB to USB-A cable and we plug in the micro USB. Into your laptop. And final step is open up a browser and go to deepracer.aws. If you did everything right, in my case in Firefox, you get a warning saying, hey, we don't recognize this particular server. That's fine, we expect that. Go ahead and say, yep, we want to accept that. So accept the risk and continue. And at this point, it asks you for the password. Every DeepRacer car has a unique password that can be found on the bottom of the car. Now, this is a password you're going to need a couple times throughout the launch process. So take a moment and write it down. There, now I've got the password ready for me, so I can enter it as we need. Go ahead and enter it into the computer. So now that we're in, it's time to set the Wi-Fi network connection. In the bottom here, update Wi-Fi network, spin that. And now we need to select the Wi-Fi network name. Where are we going to connect the DeepRacer to when it's out there driving around? In this case, I have a guest network I'm going to connect to. And we type in the super secret password for that. And connect. So now that we are connected, it's now going to give us an IP address. So now our vehicle has an IP address. Go ahead and write this down as well. You will need to do this if you want to connect to your car from the browser, which we're going to want to do. So in my case, 192.168.3.91. Fabulous. Okay, now that the vehicle has an IP address, we can go ahead and disconnect it from the laptop. So unplug that. And let's turn this thing back right side up. It's been upside down for too long. Now we need to power down the compute module. So power button on the left-hand side. Hit that, hold it down for a couple seconds. And that powers it off. Now that it's powered off, we can go ahead and unplug it from the wall power. And time to connect the battery. Again, you might have one of two batteries. If you have the Energear battery, you go ahead and plug that directly into the USB-C slot. If you have the Dell battery, go ahead and remove it from the docking station. And then go ahead and add on the cable manager. Now to connect the power cable, you want to start with the right angle, and that connects in the device to the nice little socket you've got right there. With that connected, we then take the USB-C and plug that into the power outlet. Then take the battery, slide it into the carriage, strap it down for security, and finally take the leftover cable, and that goes right into the cable manager. Perfect. All right, with that said, go ahead and power the DeepRacer back up, hitting the power button, the compute side. And again, we wait for the minute or so for it to get back to blue. At this point, you should see two blue lights. The power, which we've seen before, and now the blue Wi-Fi light, meaning that we've got good connectivity to our local Wi-Fi. Final step in assembly, let's put the shell back on. And pins go back on. And that's it. We have completed the assembly phase. Next, calibration.